get into a habit of kind of slouching over a little bit. And that's kind of where you want to work out on these major muscle groups and make sure that there's like a conscious thinking, like you don't always want to be slouched over because it actually just screws up your posture a little bit. So what's important to know is, okay, if you know that you're at a 9-to-5 job, your posture is bad because you're hunched over at a desk. If you work out with that same posture, your muscles, first of all, when you're working out, you might be using the wrong muscles because your form is wrong. And second of all is, let's say you started developing a bigger chest, right? But your chest is a lot heavier than your back. Since you already have that hunch, like a little small hunch on your back, your shoulders will cave in even more.
Right.
And you'll notice it a lot more when you have a heavier chest and a weak back to hold that chest. And when your shoulders start to cave in, you'll actually hunch even more, and it becomes not as, like the end result of your physical appearance is not as nice as you wanted it to be.
Right.
So when people kind of see that, they'll be like, oh, I worked out for half a year, my chest looks pretty good, but why does my back kind of like turn a little bit? Like it's not nice.
Right. Why do I get back pain even?
Yeah, exactly. Or like when they do certain things, they'll start to hurt themselves because initially their form wasn't that good, and they'll be, no matter how big your chest might be, since your form was wrong, you were pulling on the wrong muscle, and then now when you try to go heavy, you might increase the risk of hurting yourself.
Right.
So for people who are always, either sitting down or kind of hunched back, you just need to get into a subconscious level of like, okay, I need to sit up straight, like exactly like what you just did. Especially with sofas, it's really easy to just like kind of just lean back and chill or kind of slouch a little bit. So you just have to get into this subconscious mindset where, okay, every time I sit, I'm gonna try to straighten my back for 15 minutes. Right.
Straighten my back.
Exactly. And sometimes when you sit down, it might look weird, but it's better to look weird than to have bad posture. You know what I mean? And evidently, for the last, I would say, half a year or so, I think when you last came to Hong Kong, you're like, oh, how come your shoulders look a little bit rounded still? And then I started to focus on my back a lot. And one thing that I didn't do before was work out on my back because I'm a little bit old school. I like to check myself out in the mirror to see my progress, right? And you don't get to see your back in the mirror, right?
That's a good point. You always look through this, right?
Yeah, so when you look in the mirror, you just see, oh, my chest looks good, my abs are coming out, I got nice arms, but you never see yourself with your back.
But did you feel your back? I mean, like at a 9-to-5 office job, did you feel your back tugging? Because if your chest are so big and there's a lot of, it's pulling on you, right?
You'll be very tired.
Very tired.
Yeah, so like maybe for like an hour when you're typing away, you'll notice that you kind of like start to cave a little bit more. And that's because your posture is tired. So you're going to end up kind of just slouching even more and more.
So it's kind of like your chest is heavy, your back is getting pulled up as a result of that.
Exactly. And then sometimes, it happens at an office job. When that happens and you feel that, subconsciously you're like, oh, I'll go grab a cup of coffee. And you stand up and that kind of refreshes you and you like stretch and you go to the toilet or whatever, right? You come back, you start off fresh again and then you slowly go back down.
Cave down,
So that's why you've always got to have this mindset to just do your best to stay at that position. And one thing that I've noticed that really helps is rather than sitting on a chair, people who sit on the bouncy yoga balls, that actually really helps. Because there's nothing for you to lean back on. And even when you start to like slouch in, it's like you just roll back and then it's like straightened up again. One thing that I like to do is...
So do you actually do that? Like sit on a yoga ball at work?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people in my office have started to do that.
Okay.
But
were you the first to do that and everyone's like...
No. I wasn't the first one to do it. Actually, what I've started doing is just standing.
Okay.
So if you have an adjustable desk, just stand at your desk for an hour one, you can burn more calories, but two, it's less likely for you to slouch. So just adjust the table height so that your arms are about 90 degrees, so that they rest there.
Right.
Rather,
so it's ergonomic.
Exactly.
Right.
Rather than if it's too low, you will definitely slouch, right? And you will definitely feel it. But if you just have it at an ergonomic level, about 90 degrees, where your elbows are, your posture will be fine for the day. And some people might say like, oh yeah, but I'm tired. Well, that's fine. Like you can adjust it back down, sit for another 30 minutes, sit for an extra amount of minutes, and then when you feel like you're ready, stand back up again.